for our next presentation here at the Planet MicroCap Showcase Vegas 2024. It's a presenter, Tantalus, that is now his third event in a row, and we're thrilled to have him back. So without further ado, Peter Londa from Tantalus.
There you go. Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate that. Good morning. Quick question. Not many people, so probably easy to ask. Anybody have an electric vehicle in the room? For two of you. Has anyone driven an electric vehicle? A few more. Does anybody pay an electricity bill? I was trying to see if anyone was paying attention. I got two people, so that's good. All right. My name is Pete Londa, and I am CEO of a company called Tantalus Systems. We're publicly traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, headquartered outside of Vancouver. And I'm going to walk through these pretty quickly, hopefully leave some time for questions. And for that matter, since it's kind of a small group, if there are questions along the way, just feel free to raise your hand as we go. So Tantalus is a technology company with a very, very specific purpose, and that is to help electric utilities prepare for the electrification of everything and modernize the distribution grid. So if you're not too familiar with the utility industry, there's generation, there's transmission, and then there's distribution. Distribution is where we live and work. It's the substations, it's the power lines, it's the transformers, it's the meters on the side of your home. And for the two of you that have electric vehicles, I've got one as well, we are deliberately contributing to the demise of pole-top transformers by powering our cars. And so let me give you a personalized view of that, and then I'm going to talk to you how we solve that problem. So I have an F-150 Lightning, a pickup truck, 19 kilowatt battery. Does anyone know what 19 kilowatts means? You're a little bit good, thank you. So I have some fan participation here. So a 19 kilowatt battery is the equivalent of 6 5-ton air conditioning units. So does anyone have air conditioning in their home or apartment? Good. All right, so we got a couple nods. So I live in Connecticut, outside of New York City. It starts to get warm this time of year. We start to use our air conditioning. When I plug my electric vehicle in and have my air conditioning running, I've just doubled the amount of power that the electric utility has to deliver to the house. And it's not like they can stop that, right? They can't change my behavior pattern. And so when Eversource is a publicly traded utility on the New York Stock Exchange, when they have to deliver more power to my home, what happens? The meter on the side of my house, it's about 20 years old. It starts to heat up. The power line that connects to my home, above ground, old, we've got trees, squirrels, insulation breaks down. The wire starts to get hotter. And that wire ultimately connects to a pole-top transformer. It looks like a big beer can on the top of a utility pole. The transformer across the street from my house, fortunately on my neighbor's property, is from 1988. In 1988, the utility did not anticipate seeing the load or electricity in my home double like that because I went to a Ford dealership. That's the consequence of electrification of transportation. Now, easy answer for everyone to, easy question for everyone to answer. I see cell phones. So everyone have cell phone, tablet, laptop in their hotels. So what do? All we are doing is increasing the amount of electricity that we need every single day. And so what we're doing for utilities is trying to help them modernize the grid by taking a very analog system that's archaic and turning it into a digital, intelligent, predictive system. That's our purpose. We got about 130 people spread between the United States and Canada. Today, we support almost 300 electric utilities that are deploying some aspect of our solutions. We add about 20 new utilities a year, so our user community is growing pretty aggressively. And as you start to think about our business, as we walk through the presentation, we are a blended revenue. So we sell intelligent edge computing devices. If you break open your iPhone, you'll find a PCB board in there, right? It's got microchips, it's got RAM and flash memory, it's got communications capability. It's exactly what we do. We take that edge computing device and we put it under the glass of a meter. We don't build meters. We put it in a line sensor. We put it in a power quality measurement device in the substation. And from those devices, we capture data. That data ties to consumption patterns. When do I plug in my electric vehicle? When I plug my electric vehicle in, we capture things like voltage, and current and amperage, and then fun words like blinks and flickers. And so what's a blink? Very technical term. Has anyone ever seen lights in their home flicker or blink? There you go. That's a millisecond power outage. And so if we can capture data at the very edge of the grid, every time there's a millisecond outage, and we can use machine learning and we can use artificial intelligence, we can start to help the utilities predict where are those millisecond disruptions happening, why, and what truck and crew do they need to get out to their distribution grid to fix a problem before an outage, before an explosion of the pole top transformer. And like I said it's on my property's neighbor. It's on my neighbor's property, the pole top transformer. So I have a camera in my house fixed on that pole top transformer. It's going to make an awesome video next year or the next Planet MicroCap whenever I get back, because it'll be a fire there. I kind of joke about that, but it is serious and it is a safety hazard. So what do? We have a technology platform, devices, edge computing, that communicates through a variety of different communications technologies, fiber, cellular, radio frequency, power line communications. We have software that takes data from not only our devices, but any device that a utility is deployed in the field and make data interoperable across any system that the utility is using today. Huge market opportunity for us, just on that software suite alone. We then have a suite of software applications. So think of it day-to-day, PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft for us, helping utilities figure out metering, outage notifications, restoration, transformer analytics. And at the top, all of that data filters into an increasing suite of analytics. So hardware in the field, data communicated, run that data through software and analytics, complete platform, complete stack. Where do we sit? So the left side of this page is what utilities have focused on forever. Not too long ago, their focus was inside the substation. Still to this day, I live in a pretty populated area in Connecticut. The utility does not know when the power's out at my house. Right? What happens? We have a power outage. I start calling, and I call, and I call, and I call, and I get busy. And eventually, right, 4 or 5 hours into it, somebody might pick up the phone call that says, "Thank you for reporting the outage." Then they triangulate where are those phone calls coming from and where are the complaints. And from there, they then try to figure out what to do. I can't think of any other industry that I rely on today as much as I rely on electricity that is just completely unaware of where disruptions happen. And so utilities over time have moved from the substation down pole top transformers to the side of people's homes, businesses, industrial plants, to smart metering. And I hear that a lot. It's a smart metering company. Tantalus is smart metering. Not really. We do some smart metering, meaning we capture a ton of data from that meter. But that has been where utilities have focused. And so to give you some order of magnitude, even though we're on the Toronto Stock Exchange, $42 million of revenue last year, highest amount of revenue we've ever generated in our company's history, all tied to the left side of this slide. About 3 years ago, within our user community of utilities, we got approached with utilities that were concerned about the impact an electric vehicle was going to have on their pole top transformers. And while we're a small company, hope's not really a methodology for us when we think about product management and product roadmap. And so we formed an advisory committee of 8 utilities across the United States to help think through how we come up with a strategy and a solution to solve that very specific problem, the impact electric vehicles will have on that pole top transformer. And the output of that is the device in the middle. And so to the extent that you've been tracking us, to the extent that you continue to track or potentially have interest post today's presentation, you'll see a lot of news about the TrueSense Gateway. The TrueSense Gateway is a first-to-market opportunity for Tantalus. It's been in development for 3 years, about $12.5 million of R&D that's been expensed through our income statement as we built it. And what that device does is it sits inside an existing meter socket, and it works with any existing electric meter. And it has 4 use cases that I'll talk about momentarily. But the visual here is it's allowing the utility for the first time to send their own communication signal into the house or the building to directly connect to, with consumer permission, an EV charger, an inverter for rooftop solar, or power walls. a hot electric water heater from a partner of ours called GE Appliances. Smart circuit breakers, which are coming into the market. You can buy them in Lowe's and Home Depot today. Not from us, but from one of our partners called Savant. And so what is all that intended to do? As we capture data and start to pinpoint where transformers or infrastructure is stressing, we're giving the utility an ability to have visibility on what's happening, and then most importantly, control to do something about it. So start to identify issues with a transformer that could lead to an outage or an explosion. Right? Surgically pinpoint where to take stress off of the grid, take stress off of assets. If Mother Nature's coming, big storm, preheat water, right? We've got a water heater with GE Appliances that can be heated to 160 degrees. With their patented technology, mixing valve, water comes out at 120. It's 6 hours of load that the utility can capture by preheating that water. It turns into a thermal storage device, reduces carbon footprint for the utility, improves reliability, certainly makes sure that there's hot water in the event of a nasty storm. So those are the types of things that we're doing, and we refer to that as behind the meter, meaning helping utilities extend the edge of the grid. It's not just the substation. It's not just the meter. It's now the devices behind that meter. And how does the utility interact with us? Economic incentives, time of use rates, to potentially change our behavior patterns, especially in the event of an outage. And so I get a lot of questions about, well, why on earth would you let the utility control your EV charger? And my answer is because if they have the visibility on issues that are surfacing in the middle of the summer, I have today no choice, most likely a power outage. I'm inconvenienced. I got a 14-year-old son who sweats. I got a 17-year-old daughter who doesn't like to be inconvenienced. And when we don't have air conditioning, we have a power outage. Not only are they uncomfortable, but then they haven't charged their phone. They don't have social media. And if any of you have teenage kids, if they don't have social media, it's a bad day for the parents. So my goal in all of this is to ensure that my daughter does not get disrupted from social media. Otherwise, my day sucks. So that's what we're doing here. The device that we built, the TrueSense Gateway, we built it with, as I mentioned, an advisory committee. That advisory committee includes 6 existing customers that have been customers of Tantalus for years, and it includes 2 utilities that have never purchased anything with us. It's a pretty unique dynamic, right? We've got utilities that are not customers that have been sitting with our engineering team for 3 years to solve a problem. And what we like about that model is that as we get this product into market, week and a half ago, necessary certifications completed, so this is now available for sale. That advisory committee in full deployment represents an incremental $150 million of revenue opportunity over the next 7 years. Not all of that's backlog, but we have a pretty good view as to where, when, and terms. On top of the advisory committee, it's a great return on investment for us from an R&D perspective, just with the R&D or with the advisory committee itself. But we've got about another 30 utilities that have come to us and requested field trials as we get this device manufactured and available to them. Those 30 utilities from field trial, to the extent that they all go to deployment, represent about another $350 million of identified opportunity today. So in the aggregate, we've got about $500 million that we're chasing as we're just starting to roll this product out. And that leads to a pretty compelling opportunity for us from our perspective. How do we generate revenue? I've mentioned we're blend. Sell the device, right? It's a means to an end, but what it does is it locks us into a utility. When a utility purchases a device, it's there for 12 to 15 years. There's software embedded on that device. We get a software license and then a 22% annual maintenance tail on that software license. And then as we advance our capabilities with analytics, every time we come up with another problem to solve for utility based on the data that we're capturing, it's an opportunity for us to go back to the utility and sell them incremental analytics and software. And so today, 65% of our revenue is from the sale of the device. 35% of revenue is from software and services. Order of magnitude within that 35% of revenue, 25% of total revenue today on the $42 million that we generated in 2023 is now recurring. And that number is growing by 20% on a compounded annual growth rate over the last 6 or 7 years. So the model is taking hold, and as I've mentioned, 300 utilities. And so what that's led to is a pretty good trend chart for us. Right? Revenue growth is steadily increasing. None of this includes our new product, the TrueSense Gateway, which we think is a true inflection point in our business. You'll see we've had pretty good history. We had 18 consecutive quarters of being EBITDA positive. High water mark was about a 10% EBITDA margin contribution. In conjunction with launching the R&D effort to bring the TrueSense Gateway to market and chase the $500 million that we've already identified, we've been expensing that. We haven't capitalized it. And so about $11.5 to $12 million of R&D has flushed through the income statement. And so that communicated, guided, we anticipated that. We had a balance sheet that could support it. And as we get the product now available for sale, that R&D starts to reduce, revenue contribution increases from the sale of the device. It nets out. I don't have I think the percentages are probably pretty hard to see from where you are. Last year, high water mark, 52% gross profit margin. Highest that's ever been in our company's history as well. So last year was pretty successful. Highest revenue, highest gross profit margin. And despite investing about $5 million through the P&L last year, EBITDA neutral. We were EBITDA neutral, EBITDA positive for the final 3 quarters of the year. Balance sheet sufficient to get us to launch this product. We've got a pretty compelling working capital model with our manufacturers and then terms with customers, the utilities that deploy these devices. And I think one of the greatest statistics we take a lot of pride in is when we get into a utility, we're there for a very long time. And so our retention rate of our customers is 99.4% over the last 25 years. So we're really sticky. And what our goal is to convince the utility, not only are we the right partner, not only do we have the right solution, but we become a very trusted vendor and a long-standing partner to that utility where we can continue to monetize the relationship and, most importantly, collect more data as we get smarter about what to do with all of it. Trend analysis on our ARR, you can see it's grown pretty healthily as we've gotten more devices into the field and gotten our model really locked down. There's a good trajectory here as we think about scaling the business. And where we get excited is the business is performing. We're growing. We're adding customers. We've got great operating leverage at a 52% gross profit margin. We're coming through the back end of an R&D spend to bring new product to market with a balance sheet that can support the business moving forward. And relative to where value is today in the market, right, almost a free option on the TrueSense Gateway. In terms of capitalization, pretty clean. About 44.5 million shares outstanding. All common stock, no dilutive securities or warrants that sit behind it. Market cap is in the $80 million range. We traded about 1.5 times revenue. Market cap's in Canadian dollars, revenue USD, so a little conversion there. See if folks can do that math. And I'd say uncharacteristic of a lot of smaller MicroCap companies that you may see, about 75% of our shares are held by institutions. That ranges from big pension funds in Canada to a number of technology funds to a number of family offices. And among one of our largest shareholders is an extremely supportive venture capital firm out of Silicon Valley, Redpoint Partners, who still maintains a position and fortunately doesn't really have a holding period that we have to worry about. 5 covering analysts, all available on our website, their emails. And I think that's the bulk of it. The last thing I'd say is in terms of the management team itself, we're very fortunate. We're led by Laura Formusa, our chair. She is among the most accomplished female executives in the North American utility industry. She ran Hydro One, which is one of the largest utilities in North America. And so having her expertise and steady hand is a great complement to our management team as we try to think about how we roll up as many utilities as quickly as possible and get devices installed. I think it's a pretty compelling investment thesis at this point. I like to say when people try to say, well, I can't get my arms around what you do, very simple. We sit right at the intersection of the electrification of everything, transportation in particular, and the need to upgrade and modernize the grid. About $500 billion in stimulus funding available today where our technology is an allowable use. So we think the TrueSense Gateway is hitting the market, fortunately, at the right time with a lot of money flowing through the system. With that, I'll open up for questions. Yes, sir. Sorry, I think we'll go this way. We'll go this way. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Peter. Just more sense on what sort of data, not too granular, but how much data are planning to collect?
Sure.
This product, and where is it stored? Who owns the data?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about IP and the relationship that Tantalus has with you?
Yeah. So where I see where I'm a shareholder in this company and continue to put my own money where my mouth is the data itself. So this device, the TrueSense Gateway, we have a fabricated. It's our IP. It's our chip. 6 processors for parallel processing of data. Ton of silicon in there. RAM and flash memory. They're little coils. You'll see sort of coils go north and south, and there's one that kind of runs east-west. Those coils are called Rogowski coils. They date back 100 years. Rogowski coils have been used to collect power quality data in substations. $10,000 a device. That device is $500. Same level of measurement. So what type of data are we capturing? I'll get specific on power quality. We're capturing 256 samples per cycle. What that means is about 1,100 to 1,200 data points a second. And the data that we're capturing ties to voltage, current, amperage. And from there, sags, drops in voltage, swells, increases in voltage. And from that, we can triangulate something called harmonics and waveform. And if you think about electrons, if any of you remember your physics classes, I didn't do so well in physics, but electrons flow in a wave. The goal of the utility is to have that wave consistent, much like the ocean. The problem is when that wave gets disrupted. And so what we're capturing is that waveform, and when we can pinpoint changes in the waveform itself, we can understand why that's happening. So that's the type of power quality data that we're capturing. We capture consumption, so how much more power am I consuming when? Utility can build patterns off of that. And then we capture a decent amount of information, as this device has been in the field now since August, on the types of devices we're collecting. So water heaters is an example. What's the thermal load factor of that? In terms of where the data is stored, we deploy systems mostly with virtual servers. Some utilities still want their own infrastructure. It sits behind their firewall. From a contractual perspective, technically the data belongs to the utility, but there's not one circumstance where we don't have full access to that data, and within our contract, we are allowed full access to the data so long as we're using it to the benefit of the utility. So if we wanted to monetize that data at some point, that means we go to the utilities and say, at a regional level, state of Georgia is an example, where we have 15 utilities. Let's package all this data up and see if we can sell that into the market in some capacity, right? Give them some type of license arrangement. So what I'd say is we have full access to the data. It's technically the data of the utility because that is our customer. Did I answer your question?
Are you allowed to
Yeah. So
two utilities?
Yep.
Taking on this data, like sure, or something contract that has stack.
Yeah, it's an insightful question. The answer is yes. And in most circumstances, we support a lot of public power and electric cooperative utilities. They are shared service organizations. We're able to share information between utilities with my utility name. And so within state of Georgia is a good example of that. Electric Cities of Georgia oversees 54 distribution utilities in the state. We are the preferred vendor of Electric Cities of Georgia, meaning any utility in the state of Georgia that wants to buy our stuff has already terms pricing that runs through the joint action agency. The data from all utilities in the state of Georgia funnels into Electric Cities of Georgia. So we're consolidating that with a joint action agency today, and that data is being made available to help all utilities figure out problems. Where it becomes really interesting is wildfire risk mitigation, especially for utilities in areas where they are prone to wildfires. We can start to pick up power quality data in certain places that unfolded and led to fire, use that data to build really smart analytics and share that with other utilities to try to prevent future wildfires. So we get a lot of sharing of data. It's a really unique element of our user community. I'm just gonna, if you want to talk more, I see I got a couple minutes, I'll move, and I'm more than happy to spend time with you after. There was questions in the back row. Yeah, yes, sir. So we have competitors on this side. Some of them are the largest meter manufacturers, so it's kind of incestuous. We partner and we compete with meter manufacturers. For the TrueSense Gateway, what I'd say is we are first mover. We validated that through a lot of research, consultants, industry analysts, utilities. Tesla is building, this is called a collar. It's a socket-based collar, meaning it plugs into an electric socket. Tesla is building something similar, but it is specifically being built to control all of Tesla's distributed resources behind the meter. So the EV charger, the power wall, and if they can figure out pricing, the rooftop shingles that are solar panels, right? Instead of the traditional roof shingle, it's a solar panel. Pretty sweet actually, but really expensive. Their goal is to have a device that sits in the meter socket, whereby the homeowner and ultimately Tesla can control all of those devices through an app. If anyone has a Tesla, right, it's a pretty cool app. You can see kind of how much power is in your car and what the charging is. If you have a power wall, you can start to run data on how much power am I consuming versus how much power is available through solar and power walls. It's a consumer-driven model for Tesla. We are a utility-driven model where we think we get more scale. And Tesla is building a closed system. It is specific for Tesla. We are building a system that's agnostic. So it's a helpful data point for us that we're on the right path. They are not yet in the market with that product. They're in prototyping. You had a question? Yeah, so I was CEO of a company in this space prior to joining Tantalus. I'm not the founder. I got recruited in. So in that previous company, similar size, we went global. And I'd say it led to some growth. It also led to some issues. For us with the TrueSense Gateway, the opportunity is so ripe in our home market that's where our focus is. Our products are built on an ANSI standard. It's an electric standard. ANSI is applicable in Southeast Asia, certain portions of Latin and South America, and portions of Eastern Europe. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to take this device globally. The software is a lot easier, and so we're starting to play with some opportunities in the Southern Hemisphere right now on the software side. If we were to take the TrueSense Gateway globally, I think we'd rather do that in some form of joint venture or find a partner that has existing presence. It could suck a lot of cash quickly. Eventually, though, it's possible. But the market opportunity for us in the U.S. is massive right now relative to our current size. Yeah. Did I miss anybody that had a question? Appreciate everybody's time. Have a great conference.